Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today you're getting our final review of I, the Mask from In Flames. Alright guys, we spent the entire week listening to this album as much as we possibly could. TV Fish, what did you think?
Alright, I thought this album was good.
Yeah.
Straight up, you know what? It's good. I had a good time with it. It didn't annoy me. It didn't blow me away, but I was listening to it and I was finding it to be enjoyable the entire time. That being said, we commented last week saying that the first half is a lot stronger than the second half, and I still feel that way because when you look at the first 4 tracks, Voices, the title track, Call My Name, and I Am Above, those songs never got old for me. They were all super strong and I loved them every time I heard them.
Yep.
And they were unique, and when one would come on, oh yeah, this song's awesome, turn it up just a little bit more. So it was good. So if I'm gonna comment on the second half of the album, did that grow? Some parts of it did and some did not. I do want to talk about the last track of the album called Stay With Me. This is a very pretty song. Yeah. And I think it's a great album closer. Like, just the way that it flows, after everything else this album gives you, I think it does a fantastic job at just like letting it down. But a song like In This Life, I don't know why, but that song pissed me off every time I heard it. Yeah. It's just the chorus and the way the melody kind of goes just kind of bends around. It really just does not, it bothers my ear. Okay. So I would just listen to that song and I'm just, but I would tough through it, and for some reason that song just really started to bug me. Yeah. What are your thoughts on a song like Deep Inside or All the Pain? Because that was at the point of the album, last week when we listened to it, where it kind of started to mesh together. Did those stand out to you at all throughout the week?
I wouldn't use the term stand out, but you mentioned that did the second half of the album grow on you, and I would say that it did grow on me. I feel like I started getting a lot more of a positive vibe from the second half of the album, the much softer songs, much more melodic songs. Deep Inside is one of them, All the Pain, Stay With Me. Those last 3 tracks all kind of have that same vibe, and there was no point in time during the week where I felt like these songs were skippable, or I felt like they were annoying or anything like that by any means. But did they really scream out at me as anything special? No, that's kind of the thing, right? And that's almost gonna be my biggest criticism here with this whole album is I feel like it's solid through and through from beginning to end, but nothing really impressed me or reached out at me or made me want to just add songs to my playlist or anything like that, right? Like you, I really did enjoy the album for the most part. I spent the first several days, listening to it a lot, and I wasn't getting bored of it. I was actually finding new stuff that I was liking and going, wow, this is really cool. And I messaged you a couple things about some lyrics and some vocals. It's mostly the vocals I was kind of gravitating towards, which is something I'll touch on in a minute. But I felt like the album offers a lot, but it offers it in a very, I don't want to say simplistic way, but a very accessible way. I find In Flames to be kind of like an entry-level metal band for like people that aren't really, if you're not that into metal, you can listen to In Flames and they kind of bridge the gap between, I don't want to say pop music and metal, but for lack of a better, maybe hard rock and metal, they kind of bridge that gap. Yeah. Right? You can see that. To an extent, right? But I found that towards the end of the week though, like maybe Wednesday, Thursday-ish, I did start getting that fatigue factor to the point where I was just not feeling the album anymore. There's a couple songs that you mentioned, like Voices, I, the Mask, and I Am Above. Those 3 songs I think are great and I can listen to those whenever. The rest of the album though was kind of falling a little bit flat for me. There just wasn't enough substance there of interest to keep me hooked, but I don't think that really takes away from the quality of the album. I'm not saying anything was bad, it just wasn't enough to really just like reel me in and get me like pumped over it. Yeah, this album, it has a kind of consistency to it where there's nothing bad, but nothing is really standout amazing. Yeah. I think like a good way of, describing this album would be good, but not great. When you say not standout amazing, this might not fall into that aspect, but the vocals, like I just mentioned a second ago, I feel like I heard the vocalist Anders took vocal lessons, and I feel like that definitely shows on this album. I feel like you listen to older In Flames, he's got a cool voice, but it's definitely raw, it's definitely unrefined. On this album, it's much clearer, it's much more refined, it's much more pitch perfect, it's much, just everything that you can say good about a vocalist, it's there.
Yeah.
He's got an awesome tone, he's got awesome range, he's got good cleans, his growls and screams are all really nice.
Yet you still feel that he sounds like Elmer Fudd.
I feel like in the song,
I can like,
in Stay With Me, he sounds like Elmer Fudd. And I mean, you said you were gonna watch some Looney Tunes to compare, and I know that was probably just a joke, but I actually did go watch Looney Tunes to see if I was crazy or not. And I watched some clips on YouTube, and I was like, yeah, for some reason, he has this like Elmer Fudd accent in his voice
like
there.
just at that part, I can kind of see it.
It's a subtle thing. And
it's just only like a tiny bit I can kind of see it.
I'm kind of a little crazy for noticing it, but it's there. And you know, it's not even a bad thing. It might be a little bit comical if you can make that connection, but overall, it's not really a bad thing. It's not to say that his voice is bad in any way. It's like you can hear an emotion in his voice. It almost, you can tell he's sad. Speaking of that song, actually, the lyrics of that song, I have this weird pet peeve with songs, especially metal, with if they're about like breakups and relationships. I think that's too sappy, and I don't like that. So I thought this song was about, you know, this guy's sad that his girlfriend left him or something. But then I started thinking about the lyrics, and I'm like, maybe he's talking about somebody that's dying, like a family member that's, you know, they're on their deathbed and they're about to die or something like that, and he's like, stay with me, kind of thing. And I looked into the lyrics a bit, and I feel like the lyrics are much more aligned with that rather than the whole breakup thing. But the beautiful thing about lyrics is that they can be interpreted whatever way you want. So,
exactly.
But once I got that kind of that separate aspect in my head, I started to appreciate the entire song a lot more. It wasn't a sappy, you know, boo-hoo relationship song anymore to me. It was now like this sentimental, emotion-driven song of somebody that's losing a loved one, you know, that's on their deathbed or something. And it opened my eyes a little bit and just allowed me to appreciate it a lot more.
And like as the last track on the album, it fits perfectly.
Yeah, it's got some power to it, right?
Exactly. One thing I wanted to mention about This Is Our House, I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mentioned last week I really, really liked it, but that kind of went from, wow, I love this, to, okay, I like this.
Yeah.
Even though the riffs and some of the vocal melodies are cool in that song, there are other songs that were better, but that song's still not bad. Like, I still enjoy that song.
I think it's a decent song too, and that's another one I also looked up the lyrics for because I was curious about what the actual content was about. Couldn't figure it out, but the structure of that song is very strange. There's not much lyrics to it at all. They repeat a lot of the same lyrics in that song.
Yeah.
The structure of the song is basically like, it goes like kind of intro, pre-chorus, chorus, pre-chorus, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, chorus, pre-chorus. It's something weird like that. Like the way the choruses just keep coming up, I don't know, I found it awkward.
I find this band, just in general nowadays, is really heavy on hooks and choruses. Like, I find that's kind of the direction they've gone. Like, with older In Flames, they sounded a little bit more down kind of a metalcore path, but they've strayed away from that. Not to say that's a bad thing. A band's sound can evolve, that's fine. Just saying, like, that's kind of an observational thing, that this is kind of the direction the band's been going recently.
Yeah, well, that also ties into something we talked about last week, was the key changes, which is something you find a lot more prevalent in pop music. So if the band's trying to go with a more pop-orientated song structure, and they're doing the key changes at the end of some of their songs, that's, you know, it just goes to tell you they're just trying to be more accessible, they're trying to be more radio-friendly.
Yeah, and it works.
It works to a certain extent. We actually had a comment on our last video, somebody asking about what key changes are. It's a bit hard to explain what a key change is. It's easier to like listen for it, but I did write a little list of songs that had key changes, as it wasn't actually as much as I thought there was. But Follow Me has a key change near the end, In This Life, Deep Inside, and I'm not sure, but I think This Is Our House has a semitone key change, a really slight one, and I Am Above might also have one. I know you'd have to hear it again, it's hard to even go off by memory, but some of them are very, very slight and very, very minor, and some of them are very obvious.
I can definitely recall In This Life, because that chorus is stuck in my head and I don't like it, and I keep hearing the key change.
Yeah, if you want to hear a key change, the best way to do it is to basically listen to the last chorus of the song and then one of the other choruses. And that's usually the telling point, where like you'll hear it basically played at a higher tone than the previous one.
Yeah, like to simply explain, it's when the song is going at the way it is, and then later it changes, and you're doing the same melody line, it's just a lot higher pitch or lower pitch, depending on where you go.
Generally higher, but
yeah, usually
lower too.
In popular music, you'll see a lot of what this band does on this album, where they go up like a tone or a semitone.
Right. But anyways, all in all, you know, I don't hate anything about the album, but you know what? I think we should get to ratings.
Anyway, okay, yeah. All right. So my rating for this album, you know what? Like I said before, it's good, not great. So it's not getting a toe tag for me, but you know what? I think this album is good from a metalhead standpoint. Could even be good from an In Flames fan standpoint. I think there are some callbacks to the original sound that are in this album that they might enjoy.
True.
And I think it's also good from just anyone's standpoint that this is such an accessible album. It gets a 6 from me because it's just good, just a straight up good. Not great, unfortunately. So how about your rating?
That's a fair enough assessment and a fair enough score. You know, I feel like I share a lot of the same sentiments as you. I feel like this album's very, you know, could be appealing to a lot of people, different ranges. I try not to compare it to old In Flames as much as possible because, you know, that's just a whole new smorgasbord of...
Yeah, they've really changed a lot.
Yeah, they've changed a lot, and, you know, I try to review albums as its own entity. We've talked about that many times. But without blabbling too much, like you, I think the album's good but not great. I think it deserves a little bit higher than a 6, just because of probably how well polished it is. Mainly because of how good the singing is and how much far along he's coming on the vocals. So I'm gonna give it a 7. It's definitely not a toe tag album. It just doesn't have that spark. But it's a solid album. It's something that I could listen to and enjoy. It took me, 5-6 days of constant listening before I started to get bored of it, which is pretty good. So yeah, 7 for me, 6 from TV Fish. And as usual, we want to know what you guys think. So be sure to leave your comments below. Let us know what you guys think of this album after listening to it for a week. And yeah, that's about it for our video. So like it if you liked it. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. And we'll be sure to see you guys on the next one. I'm Vile Self.
I'm TV Fish.
Later, guys.